Trump demanded Iran's unconditional surrender. He got nothing. He threatened regime change. Didn't happen. He wanted Iran disarmed. Also didn't happen. So tell me, why is the country that supposedly won this thing now dealing with political fallout, a broken alliance, and a world it didn't expect? Because here's the thing nobody's saying out loud. The US didn't win. Iran didn't fully win either. And the actor that actually ended this war, almost nobody saw it coming. I'm going to walk you through the real story of this ceasefire, not the cable news version, not the Twitter recap. We're talking who actually got what they wanted, the third-party actor that flipped the outcome, why Trump personally escalated this, what it means for Iran, Israel, Lebanon, and American power going forward. And I'm going to be honest with you about something the media is almost completely getting wrong. Stay with me. This one matters. Okay, real talk. Trump had 3 stated goals over those 40 days. 1. Unconditional surrender from Iran. 2. Regime change. 3. Disarmament. He got 0 out of 3. That's not spin, that's just the scoreboard. Now, Iran wanted a clean, final settlement, guarantees that once the US and Israel had time to regroup, the attacks wouldn't resume. They didn't get that in clean form either. So on paper, nobody won. But here's the thing. There's a rule in geopolitics that applies perfectly here. All Iran has to do to win is not lose. The Islamic Republic is still standing. Its deterrent is still intact. And that means, structurally, Iran didn't lose, which is a kind of winning. Now, here's where it gets genuinely interesting. Ask yourself, who ended this conflict? You probably said the US, maybe the UN, maybe Qatar. Wrong. It was China. And I don't mean in a vague background pressure kind of way. China apparently went directly to Iran and told them, "This ends now." Why would China do that? Because China's entire global strategy is economic, not military. It depends on Gulf energy. It's building influence through infrastructure and trade. The last thing China needs is a shooting war that disrupts that whole architecture. And here's what China correctly diagnosed. When the only tool a superpower reaches for is military force, that's not strength. That's a sign of decline. So China stepped in, halted it at the edge. And here's the wild part. No analyst, no think tank, no commentator predicted this. Not one. Which tells you something important. Anyone who tells you after the fact that they knew how this would play out is lying to you. War has too many variables. Let's talk about Trump's decision-making, because this is where it gets personal. The US has wanted to neutralize Iran since 1979. That's not new. That's not Trump. That's bipartisan, documented American foreign policy for almost 50 years. Through sanctions, through supporting Saddam Hussein in the Iran-Iraq War, through killing the nuclear deal twice. So when people say Trump was just doing Israel's bidding, that's not serious analysis. The US had Iran in its crosshairs long before Netanyahu was in the picture. But what's different about Trump? It's ego. Past administrations had people in the room who cared about institutional consequences. Trump surrounded himself with yes men, deliberately, because he didn't want to be challenged. So when he escalated, it wasn't a cold strategic calculation. It was personal. He just had 2 quiet embarrassments. Greenland, where he said he'd take it and then backed off, Minnesota, where an ICE operation quietly didn't happen. He wanted a win, a big one, and he thought Iran would be it. Here's what the conflict actually produced. The bombing unified the Iranian population behind their government. Let that sink in. Trump and Netanyahu's one demonstrable strategic achievement in this whole episode was making Iranians, many of whom have real grievances with their own leadership, rally around the Islamic Republic. That is a catastrophic own goal. Meanwhile, the damage to civilian infrastructure, power grids, water systems, hit ordinary Iranians first, not the regime, regular people, 90 million of them. And what did Trump's inner circle say while this was happening? J.D. Vance was reportedly uncomfortable. Rubio had reservations. Even some in Trump's own ideological orbit, Tucker Carlson, others, were saying publicly, this is going to be a disaster. Carlson apparently walked into the White House multiple times before the assault and told Trump directly. Carlson told Trump directly, "Don't do this." He was right. I need to flag something that's happening in real time and is going to get worse. Because Carlson and others were correct about Iran, their entire worldview is about to get amplified. Here's the risk. Being right about one thing doesn't make everything else you believe true. Some of these voices are now pushing the line that this was purely Israel's war, that the U.S. had no independent interest, that Washington was just a puppet. That's factually wrong, and the version some are taking it to, suggesting Israel was actively working to weaken America, has no evidentiary foundation. None. But it's going to spread widely. And that has real consequences, specifically for Jewish people in the U.S., where accusations of dual loyalty are already being reactivated in serious public ways. The premise is wrong. The premise is wrong. But the whirlwind is already here. A nuclear-level superpower launched a military assault on a country of 90 million people, demanded unconditional surrender, walked away with none of its stated goals. The war was ended, not by American diplomacy, but by Chinese strategic pressure. The loser came out with a unified population and an intact deterrent. And the U.S.-Israel alliance has been structurally damaged, with both sides now quietly blaming the other. This is what the end of unipolarity looks like. Not one clean moment where everything shifts, just a slow, grinding sequence of overreach, miscalculation, and retreat. The world is not becoming simpler. It's becoming less dominated by one power. And if you're not paying attention to that transition, you're going to be surprised by almost everything that happens next. If this gave you a clearer picture of what actually went down, subscribe.